This evening's study, the Gospel according to Luke chapter 6. Luke chapter 6. And this evening, we are looking at community and fellowship. Do you agree that that would be a fitting, based on our study last week, that community and fellowship would actually, or life in community, would be a fitting theme or topic for this section of Luke? Is there any other suggested theme that we could use? Any? No? Okay, so I suppose we just work with what is on the table. All right, verses, just a quick read, verses 12, that's Luke chapter 6, verses 12, 13, 14, and it came to pass in those days that he went out into a mountain to pray and continued all night in prayer to God. And when it was day, he called unto him his disciples, and of them he chose 12, whom also he named apostles. So the verses 12 and 13. So we see this whole about forming the community. So I know we are anxious to get to actually life in the community. I hear that. So just a revision of how this community came into being, how this community came together. So Jesus called this community, this group together, community of believers, community of faith, who today we would refer to as the church. They were not yet nicknamed. I say nicknamed, because while we bask in and pride in the name today, it was originally a nickname. Christians, those Christians, it was not necessarily a badge of honor which was initially given. It was given in a teasing way as a nickname. You know, some of those nicknames that persons often run from. Here, this community, Jesus called into being. He went to pray. We did say that we see a pattern of spirituality presented here, which is set as an example for us, that there is this major task, this major decision which Jesus had to make, which was choosing leaders for this community. And Jesus would have said that he came to do only what the Father disclosed to him. I believe then it is only but right that he would go to the one who owns the mission to ask who you'd want to lead your mission. So he went off to pray. We also spent time looking at the setting or the place where he went to pray. That's the mountain. So he went into a mountain to pray. He went into a mountain to pray. And we did say that in our reading for devotion or prayer or at our bedside, whatever the case is, it makes for a good reading. Expressions like these: Jesus went in the mountain and he prayed. Sounds nice. But if you stop to think about it, the mountain is actually a rough place. Place where it is in the wild where he went to pray. And here I note the time of day as well. Evening hours, maybe like now. He went and he spent all night. Can you imagine all night in the mountains? You hear all sort of sounds. You will probably hear some tiger roaring, rolling, and some wolf making some sounds there. Albeit that here is the creator of these animals. So in humanity, that life is threatened there. Life is sure, sure. Right. So, in terms of solitude, solace, he actually went off a place where he could connect with God, um, away from one set of distractions, that is people. And in reading, if we do reading on this passage, that's one of the immediate reference that we'll get, our comment, our feedback, study on it, that the place is important because he went away where there's less distraction, where he could connect, could have a personal time with God. The mountain, in terms of terrain, can be rough. I'm coming up on the rough side of the mountain. I'm doing my best to make it in. I see the choir should know that one. Yeah, right. It possibly could be they were sleeping. And if you note, if I believe in reality it is there, because the point why I'm getting down into all of this is to present the reality of the situation, that we don't want to just gloss over it in a sanitized way as that. This is this nice bedroom where we just go off and my nice pillow just perk up against my back and I'm praying, dear Lord, hear my prayer. No, it is a rough place away from these. I mean, even if we're at the altar, we want padded cushions to kneel down on because we don't want to bruise our knee or to sal up our nice dress, right? But the roughness of the place as well. And if you listen to how I phrase my words, and I was jittering about trying to select the right words, and I carefully said less distractions. I didn't, if you know, well, I didn't say all distractions were gone, right? And then again, being from the comfort, it probably allowed him to be awake more. Albeit that you have some persons who sleep anywhere. They just want somewhere to catch, they sleep. Yes, Sister Pingy. Yes, yeah. Or the desert. Right. Perhaps the place helps. I mean, it's can be therapeutic. Nature can help us to connect with God, right? Like going. And you just condition your mind. Yeah. Yeah, if you, so what you are doing now, you are becoming aware. So you tune, you culture your mind, that you are in tune with what is happening around you in terms of connecting with the spirit. Cause the other person now could be there and only I think about, boy, me have to hurry up to, probably me have to go get to Alberton later, or to get to Falmouth, or boy, I have this, and they're just rushing through, and they are not connecting with nature, connecting with this spirit. It depends on the bird. You have different kind of birds. So some are at night. Patu is a bird, are old. Okay. We receive noted. Noted. Right. Some note though that some of those are domestic animals though that we name like the common fowl in the yard. Those ones they go sleep. But one thing we must note though is that when night come, a different life come alive, and we hear other, whether it is bird, because maybe we get caught up about the bird. Bird is not the only thing, animal in the wild. I'm sure the wolves will come out to play, and the other rough animals come out to play with deep sounds, right? So even if the birds are sleeping, if so be the case, there are other animals which will cause you to want to run back home, right? So it's becoming aware of your surrounding. But even that, we know that I can imagine that Jesus would have keep his composure because he always connect with the wild. We see when like the storms on the water that he was comfortable because he and demonstrate that he's creator. But the point, though, that I really wanted to make is that it's wild, and in the wild, you have just that wild animals and rough terrain. And also to note that in our experience, where we can find peace to connect with God is sometimes in the roughness of life. So in our daily life, so I'm saying this figuratively, in terms of describing the mountain, but also in our everyday life, the roughness of what is can connect with God. I mean, like me walking in the mornings. Used to jog. I start walking now. It's not so much because person always say, "Oh, yeah, lose weight," and I'm like saying, that's not why I walk though. I don't walk to lose weight. I walk for mind reasons, healing of the mind, for therapy. That's, yes, for fitness in one sense will come, but it also helps to connect with nature and connect with God, the morning's air, and so forth. It is therapeutic. And also, persons always, I always make the case, that, the pastor is always busy caring for others, persons calling or visiting with their issues. And sometimes when you hear two issues in one day, it's like all your energy gone. It's like you probably just want to go to doctor bed and just go for recharge or something. It's like you can't feel your hand anymore. That sort of thing, it can be draining on one's energy. The point is caring for others, but who care for you? And you have to find those places and moments where you can recharge and you can your mind for healing. Else you can also crack too. You get that place where you're easily irritable and miserable and all that. So to find those means of mind healing, mental healing, and so on. So it's more therapy than even than even the fitness, though the fitness will come automatically. So I say that the place, I mean, practicing the presence of God, we experience nature is helpful in connecting us with the Spirit. Okay, so we have here Jesus prayed. He received revelation in terms of the decision he has to make. He then made this decision. The decision is appointing the 12 who will lead the mission. So he was shaping a community. He was calling a community into being. And then after, we go in our favorite section now, we start to see what it is to live life in this community. That's verses 20, where we're anxious to go through the controversial section. life and fellowship within this community. It would be important and wisdom in the ministry that Jesus, calling this community of from people from different backgrounds, various backgrounds, and persons who are even violent, persons who are problematic, and these are the persons who Jesus called, and persons who from troubled homes, family, persons who are even warmonger. We use that word. Um, you just call them and you just put them in community and you leave them alone. What will happen? Um, do we follow this pattern as a church? Do we, or well, we should, because we have it at least in our minds that we should. So we have new believers classes, but and sometimes these are just like 2 or 3 sessions. We are so anxious to go in the water, and immediately we get out, persons are left on their own. These persons who come, don't they come with problems from different backgrounds? I mean, teachers know this well. Even you have a class before you, classes of imagine 30 and 40 students from broken family homes, violent backgrounds, and maybe you just have a 5 or 10 peaceful ones, and the other 30 would tear them like vicious animals, tear the good ones apart. So you have to be mindful of the home. Sometimes you even have to visit the children's home to see, like, to have an idea what you're dealing with. So don't we sometimes in church, we perhaps don't properly disciple or effectively disciple persons? We just throw them in and we leave them alone, and we can imagine the challenges which come with that. So life in community, it has to do with relationship and relating with others. We have where it says that we should judge, well, matter about judging, and judge not judging, which will come to. We have matters about love, and who should we love? Who should we love? Should we love or only love those who bring us presents, those who always say nice things to us? Who are the ones we should love there? And if we note well that all of these teachings which we'll come to, it sets opposite. They set opposite to the world, what the world offers. So if you will hear it say, the world will say, an eye for an eye. But Jesus say, no, love them. So it is opposite. Each one of them, very opposite. So it might seem on surface simple, but they are very difficult. Very difficult. And it means then that we will need to depend on a deeper source in order to go through and to live life in this community. And what is this deeper source? The Spirit, God's grace and strength, God who will strengthen us. So this is life, living life in a community, and they will know us by our love. So life, living life in community. Can you see then why with hearing words like we should love our enemies and do good to them who hate us? Can you see why then that some persons will not come to church and say I can worship in my home, I can worship in my bedroom or in my sofa? Can we see why? Because I will escape from all of those realities. I will be at home in my little bubble, me, Jesus, and I. Me, the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, all alone with Christ my Lord. In my little corner, in my bubble, nobody have to disturb me with their issues and their problems. Is that the kind of community that Jesus called us to? And in such little bubble, how would we advance the mission of Jesus? How will we grow spiritually? How, if not when we are challenged, that our faith will grow? Isn't it that when we interact with others, that we will, even our understanding of scriptures will be straightened out as the Spirit indeed speak through others and not speak through the walls at home and the settees and figures at home. But the Spirit speaks through others, and it is through them. And even when they meant things for evil, the Spirit use it for our growth. Amen. Okay, so we will go to Luke chapter 6. Luke chapter 6. Let us hear again Luke chapter 6, verses 20 through 26. And he lifted up his eyes on his disciples and said, Blessed be ye poor, for yours is the kingdom of God. Blessed are ye that hunger now, for ye shall be filled. Blessed are ye that weep now, for ye shall laugh. Blessed are ye when men shall hate you, and when they shall separate you from their company. Okay. So before we go in, so this section is separated in two. We have the blessings and we have the woes. Before we go to the woes, let us look on the blessings. The word blessed, can we be reminded? Or share some reminders of the word blessed. What does it mean to be blessed? Does it mean to be blessed that I'm too good to be stressed? These are the nice love stuff we talk about that the praise team love to say. I'm blessed and highly favored. I'm blessed and too good to be stressed. And all of those things. Are they biblically sound though? What does it mean? Because we hear this word used over blessed. Blessed, the beatitudes, the blessed attitudes, the attitudes which are necessary to live in this community. What does it mean to be blessed?
To be happy.
To be happy, peace of mind, and note the context in which this happiness and peace of mind comes. It is in chaos. So peace is not the absence of war. Happiness is not the absence of struggles around. It is whether we want to absorb it and let it come and deteriorate our being, and then stress us out. So we have to find those moments, as I mentioned earlier, even going for a walk, in which will help us to release the toxins which others will put at us. Toxins which will not necessarily from others either, but just naturally going through life and work that we will get toxic because of the challenges. So we can experience blessedness even in hard times, even in wilderness experience, even on the mountain, the rough side of the mountain, such place that Jesus went, that we can experience blessedness. These ones who are called into this community are referred to as the blessed. They are not blessed because they are in a bubble away from the reality of life. In fact, they must engage the struggles of life. and in so they will be light to the world, salt of the earth. This blessedness, it's interesting as well that it speaks about a kind of class or status where they are now. Um, and that is something about Luke. For Luke is he's always concerned about those who are marginalized, those who are poor, living on the margin, those who are without a voice, the fishermen, the common persons, those who are not high. Um, you might be poor now, you might be hungry now, you might be weeping now, but here is ministry. Come into this community. For when you come in this community, we will depend and we will rely on the encouragement of others. That even though we might be weeping, but there are others in the community who will help us with the baggage that we're carrying. Though we might be struggling along life's journey, but here is the importance of the community and helping others and transforming others' lives cannot be done from being in a corner at home by ourselves.
Right.
Sister Pingy.
What you are saying then, in clear essence, as what I'm understanding, the word blessed, you are saying is happy then. Happy are you that hungry now, because later on you shall be filled.
Right.
You would say it like that?
Right. Yeah. Right. So you could use happy to replace blessed there in the sentence and read it as you have. Or another word that could be used for blessed is favored, like Mary. The greetings from the angel, highly favored one, favored in the presence of God. So one who is favored by God, you are blessed. So favored are you that hunger now. But there's another way we could also look at this. For this hunger is not only referring to the food we eat, but it's also referring to spiritual matters. Those who are thirsty for God, come to the waters. Those who are hungry will never thirst again, for I am the bread of life, says Jesus. I am and nobody else. I am the bread of life. I am water. Um, that's what righteousness is. So blessed are you who hunger and thirst after righteousness. That's the way how Matthew's version placed it. Who thirsts after righteousness. So it is not only referring to our social status, our social or economical status, our class, but in one hand, yes, it might be referring to that, but it is also and more, not just also, but more so referring to hunger and thirst after righteousness. So you who have placed the mission of God beyond your personal agenda, you might be struggling now because you have walked away from the Benz and the BMW, the SUV, for the sake of the mission, that you will be happy tomorrow. As a matter of fact, not only just tomorrow, but from now, you will start to experience an inner peace, which those who run after the fast way will only probably for a day or two until misery takes them short. Any response in terms of these ways of living? What is it when we live lives in the Spirit with lives surrendered to God? What it is like? Particular those who hunger, those who might be poor today but have stored up treasures in heaven. What any other reflections? And an assurance, hope. So we hear assurance, we hear hope, peace, and this is comfort to those who struggle and could use in moments where we may have to offer counsel. It's in counseling. These words are profound and sometimes better than some expressions that we tend to fall to. Rejoice. Amidst challenges, rejoice. Rejoice and leap for joy, for your reward is great. Though struggles might come in this community, but those who endure, those who persevere, will be able to rejoice in that everlasting kingdom, for Christ's reign, which has no end, will subdue evil. Yes. Right. Thank you, Sister Scarlett. So, Scarlett is asking the question, like, so these, so these statements, giving assurance of and reminder of blessedness in community. How can you go to counsel somebody who is hungry? Not necessarily righteousness only, but hungry, and tell them, don't worry, you're blessed. But my belly is rumbling here. No, don't talk about your belly. You're okay. Have you forgotten you're blessed? And one who is weeping, and to tell that person that you are blessed. That is beyond profound. That would have topped the record. I don't think A plus is good enough, because and that this is a challenge. I remember even when we made a visit, deacons, very recently, I did make the point that in hard times, it is you also don't want to say what might come as condemnation, what might be overbearing. So it is a challenge to find the right words, and that's a challenge to counseling, biblical counseling. It's a challenge. For when we go, it is said that when we go for, say, grief counseling, like when we visit persons who have passed, the family, or for prayer meetings or whatever the case is, that it is it's a challenge for that very reason, and it's advised that the less we say or try to be high and sophisticated, biblically. It's not the place for high words and sophisticated words and so forth. Hug is good enough. Your presence alone is a message. You don't have to say anything. The fact that you have come, that alone is enough. Sometimes it's hard to find the words. Sometimes even to ask. One of the hardest point I have is to ask this question: how are you doing? That question is so annoying. Isn't it obvious? How am I doing? I am weeping here. You're asking me, how am I doing? Like, serious? How am I doing? Right? Your mother just died and you're asking me, how am I doing? Seriously? Like, seriously? So even though you meant well in that question, you're just trying to help. But that question, so is that challenge in how do you, what do you say? And I don't have the answer. I'm hoping that you can help me, or some scholar, whenever you find the answer, you can help me. Let's just say, and you might realize, even in our journey, we have gone through several visits. Other than the might be the prayer and so on in and of itself, and the hymns, you will notice I'm there and I'm very silent. I said, and it's intentional. It's not that I don't know the dictionary and all of that. And being silent doesn't mean I said, Pastor, come on, so silent, or probably antisocial. Probably the one who believe they are so social is doing a terrible job, right? And so, and plus there are even certain questions as well. A part of what we have learned is you let the person, based on how open they are, disclose how they are doing. So you don't ask them, you know, how is your leg now? What is the diagnosis of it? If you have that relationship with a person, proper to ask. So some persons, and I had a challenge because, like, in sitting in the congregation, is indeed it is a safe side. So always best to be on the side, because the other side will do. So it's better they say that. But it's all that risk. And I never understand until I have ministry. Words. And it might be helpful to, if you have a manual, to use the manual, because in times of sickness and all that. Mind you, you'll have those who are super spiritual and will probably do otherwise. But ministry without wisdom is a meaningless exercise. So it is for us to use wisdom there. So we want to bear in mind, be very careful how we approach these delicate moments. Just to share an encounter, well, not personal encounter. I was in school once in class where persons are sharing their experiences, as we are normally expected to as students to share our journey and so on, for personal growth. And another student did share, being in circuit, gone off go for a visit, a grief visit person, for a person who lost her husband. And the deacon was, very Pentecostal, and that I am happy, that him gone now. You can't come out, him, because you have time now, and you can be closer to the Lord. Well, that's just a good response. And then the person I've shared with, other members that they're close to that boy, had it not been for the respect that I have for that deacon, I would tell him something. If the person feels so hurt and damaged by those expressions that were made, and the poor, so anointed and Pentecostal deacon who believes that he is so spiritual and is doing justice, and don't know the deep damage. I doubt even maybe he knows to this day that's the case, and the hurt that has been caused. So, and there are many several where that came from, but I'll just share that one.
Ways
It
of telling people that I know what you're going through.
That's another one too. Exactly. Even if you have had the experience before, your experience and mine is two different experience. So that statement, I know what you're going through, is a dangerous statement to make in counseling. And we're told it's better to say, I can imagine, or I can only imagine what that can be like, you know. Or to say, I can't even imagine, that even a better word, that expression. I can't even imagine what that would be. Boy, that sounds very heavy. I don't even know what I would do if I was in that situation. Doesn't that sound like a better expression? To say that I know what you are going through. I've been there. Or it is your cross to carry. Those expressions would make some of the very senior pastors cringe and like, ooh, is that's your cross to carry. You tell them. See, I say, those struggles. Can you imagine? Some of the, and it sounds very nice and fancy. These expressions we make sounds very fancy, and sometimes we don't know. Maybe I don't know if it is ignorance or lack of knowledge why that we is in that we don't know any better why persons do that, or if it is resistance. But it is, I tell you, it is. I mean, counseling is not an easy task. It's not an easy task, and sometimes they do more damage than good.
Yeah, that is why training is so important. Even the Bible study, it wasn't about food, all these things we're learning. Training
Right.
is so hard, yes.
Very much so. But I can say that, like we said at the beginning, that this will not be popular, for probably persons will probably not appreciate this kind of session, because we need to hear about, we need to just, the spirit and, being high and speaking in tongues and all of those sort of stuff. And boy, you walk it every day, and my head is just growing because when I feel my hair just moving, there's a spirit moving there. Maybe I just have nerves issue. I don't know, but so that's what some persons interpret the spirit to be, and they'll not take this. Sister Deacon Clark,
Yes, verse 21.
verse 21.
That hunger know, why it shall be filled. Is it that it could be I left home, come to church, empty, hungry, and worship as if my belly is full, and then at the end of the service, not even one person didn't discern or
Out as a safe word the person. Okay, thank you, Deacon Clark. So you're asking, this verse, chapter 6, verses 21, is it saying, in talking about blessed are those who hungry, there they will be filled. So persons who come to worship and at the end they leave, and nobody discern that challenge there. How do we see that in light of this verse? Interesting. I believe I have been saying. Oh, probably before I share mine. Anybody would like to respond before I comment on that? Deacon K.
some people can be very good at pretending, and then maybe
Sorry, when I said people, as in which people?
like
The person who is hungry?
right,
Okay.
and Sister Clark come to church hungry. But if the spirit, because the spirit knows that Sister Clark, and then the spirit work through men. And I believe in myself that if Sister Clark is in that position, serving God, I believe that God
will provide someone or something to attend to Sister Clark. I truly believe that. I don't know.
Right. I hear a point in that which I'll bear in mind too. Anyone else? I see Sister Scarlett looking like she want to comment. Anyone else? Deacon Buckle,
You
yes.
see that Jesus was saying to his disciples here, it doesn't matter what may happen to you as I choose you and send you out there. It doesn't matter what will happen, how difficult it may be, you will be blessed up to the end of the time. Because when you say blessed in the kingdom, that means your reward. You will receive a reward. So don't care what happened, don't care how difficult things will be in your ministry. You don't worry about it because you will be blessed in the end.
Right. Thank you, Deacon Buckle. I believe that's a fair way of summing it up. That here is this community. They are not only just called to exist, but they are called to exercise ministry, to serve each other as also serving the world. So they are called to exercise ministry, and in ministry, difficulty will come, but in it all, you at the end of the day, you will feel fulfilled. Um, journeying through ministry there, and of course, the Spirit will strengthen you, but God will give you the grace and so forth. So that's a way we could sum it all up. I don't know if everybody has shared. So to respond, that the point made about a person who is hungry, come to church hungry and left, and nobody discerned that. The long and short may be the congregation doesn't have a discerning spirit.
People not hunger for the word.
Well, Deacon Case did say in this case, as in food, as in natural food. So we do know that in the sense we are interpreting it is hunger and thirst for righteousness, so spiritual matters. But the long and short of this, for a person who is hungry for bread and beef, a person who is hungry for rice and chicken in the worship, this is an opportunity for ministry. An opportunity for ministry. So if the person, and I'm not saying that there might not be distractions which might cause us not to respond the same day, but if this person is a regular in worship, and nobody picked that up, it means that it's not a missional church, which would be a contradiction because the church is supposed to be missional. So that's what it would be saying. It's not a missional church, not discerning. And you best believe this happens very often in churches, if not almost every day, every occasion. It happens. Maybe we are very more caught up in the numbers and getting and attending to only the spiritual matter. Not important. Let us just focus on the spirit. Here, Sister Hastings.
I don't know if this is not like when Bush was not feeling well. But when they you could see that he was feeling bad. Are we gonna continue or are we gonna respond?
Right. So that is one, and the interesting way how we responded to that is to get him help. Mind you, there are who believe more that they are more Pentecostal than us. They would probably say we don't have the spirit, we should pray that pain out of him. I don't know if the person has a serious medical blockage there. I mean, ministry without wisdom is a meaningless exercise, says Reverend Dr. Burchell Taylor. Ministry without wisdom is a meaningless exercise. So wisdom would say, and right there, I remember I did say to Deacon Bucker, who responded, I said, you are being a deacon then, because that's what it is to be a deacon. And you go back to Acts chapter 6, the heart of a deacon is serving those who are in need. For the widows and so on, they were not being served, and persons were complaining that it was those who were in need. And deacons were set apart. That's one of the first places it is believed that persons trace a deacon to, that deacons came into being to help those who are in need, you know. But mind you, today, that's not, deacons don't want to do those stuff. What deacons want to be rulers and want to be bosses and managers and so forth. But what about the deacon comes from the word diakonos, the Greek, which means servant. So it means serving the people, servant of the people. So right there and then you were responding to a needs that I have said in a recent message that the heart of a deacon is some could be summed up in the hymn, rescue the perishing, care for the dying. So that's who a deacon is, and that should be a watch hymn, I would suggest, and deacons sing it very regular, all of us. But I don't want us to lose the point of deacons, though. I'm driving that home, so we don't want to to go off on the road there. I'm driving that home. We deacons are servants. Well, true, confidential, because it does. Deacons will be privy to, by virtue of your calling, will be very privy to confidential stuff and have to know to be confidential. Because say you might go in a home setting which it might be challenging. You're not gonna come out and broadcast that and ever, boy, me go over so and sometimes the person may even mean well when they say that, they want to go help, but it is also destructive. And boy, them children couldn't help them, and this and boy, condition bad man, and they go. That's how person. It is confident, and mind you, that might be the case, but leave it, fine, or I wouldn't necessarily leave it alone, but if you have a relationship, find a mature way how to respond to it. But coming out and broadcasting that and sharing it with others is not the way. You might even know of maybe a case, maybe like say a lawsuit and deep matters surrounding that. You have to know how to deal with that as deacons, and minister, confidential matter. You can go on and on.
In certain fields, you have to have good ethics.
Ethics and etiquettes, right, in how you practice. And of course, without, and even when we talk about person will be super spiritual and so on, yeah, it is also part of the spirit. Confidentiality is part of the spirit, and knowing how to deal with matters with wisdom. Deacon Clark, I don't want you to lose your burning point.
So looking at 21b, verse 21b, about reap and laugh. So as Sister Hayes said about Bush and Deacon Buckle. So Bush was there weeping, and Deacon Buckle respond, and then Bush come back. The other son, they're laughing.
Oh, that's interesting. That is interesting indeed. That is so interesting. Yeah, because I saw him the following day. Well, same day for those who saw him the same day. He was back. Okay, right. Maybe because I went off to Wilson Valley. Yeah. Okay. Deacon case, yes.
Since we passed the Alberton coming from the that kind of, and it just come to me where the situation come back to me. And I said to myself, then the most God will send Bush in a church on Sunday morning. Bush must have been paid for an and knowing that, see, it is a Sunday, couldn't be.
He's very devoted, so he's.
Sitting right here,
Because he would have because he probably know, in that case, I doubt he could even walk to Alberton, because maybe you'd have to walk to Alberton because no drive to get. Right, so, Deacon Buckle.
That day, it was a day that I will never forget. Because I take him there and leave him there. On my way back, I stop at the Baptist church at Christian.
I know.
And I stayed here all day for service.
We can move on there. Yeah, but you
Oh,
can't be boxed to where
I come with the can butter.
came back to church. No, you came back on my way home. Yeah, you came back to say kind of. You came back. Not at church. But on my way home,
Home.
driving on the taxi was coming with him.
All right, let us say the can buckle was waiting patiently.
I even got hospital.
Right.
That was the best place for him. And he have $1,000 in his pocket, so I know if he gets you,
Yeah, man,
he
you come back.
take care of his word. And then I was planning, I would say, wherever I find myself, for the rest of the day, I'm going to spend it here. And on my way, when I was going, I look over.
Christiana Church, Baptist Church.
There was no car there. So when I get back there, I stop and look. You know, my car there. So I stop and I spend all the day. Service there, service there.
I know. I always say I know all things. I know. I mean, it's a small world. I know persons in most of the churches. I say, oh, I saw a deacon from Spring Garden, and he's so quiet. He didn't say. He just sat there. He didn't say anything. I know all things. Trust me, I know all things.
Last Sunday was Federation Sunday. And this lady, anyway, it was good.
Yeah. Christiana Baptist Church.
I've been there before.
Okay. Travel to preach. Right, because they know he said that to me as well, that the persons there know him. So he said from the same they took him in because and there were other persons waiting and they he said they know him well, so it's right. It's like he works there. Right. So we just want to sum this up, and we'll have to get to the woes next week. So we'll sum this up in saying the point which was made about the ministry opportunity in worship. Persons come out, and these are ways. Because I've said it recently, and it's something I always reflect on. Yes, we should be on the road, and yes, we should reach others, but do not neglect those who are present here and come, because sometimes it is easy for us to forget those who are under our arms, and we are only those on the road, these persons have presented themselves here. What they come with their issues, concerns about health, concerns about work, concerns about broken family, home, and relatives overseas, relatives in other parish, and
it's good to listen.
you can pick up in their voice concerns as well. One of the things too, I normally, you may not know, but I strange person, a good way to pick up concerns of the congregation is to listen to the prayers. So you listen to like the intercessory prayer, you listen to the notices, listen to the prayers in worship, and you will hear concerns of persons there. So that's a good way. Things that persons are bothered, concerned about, or celebrating. It doesn't always have to be concern; can be a celebration there. So these are matters we have to have this discerning spirit. It happens every day. Persons come because of their love for the house of God, but sometimes persons come and sometimes not even a cup of tea, really. And there are also persons who are going back home. Well, some of us may be going home to Turkey, but there are other persons who are going home. Maybe yam and run down, and that there's anything wrong with that in and of itself. But the point is, there are persons who have real challenges. That's the point. They can case.
I live alone, and if I make breakfast, it is too much. Anything I do is too much. But because I have my neighbors that come along very regular. But you see, before breakfast or dinner or whatever, I always pray. Bring them to you or bring you to assignment. So you pray
and these are where you get your hand and feet in the trenches, because persons, when we talk about evangelism, will be very excited about just talking about how sweet the name of Jesus sounds in a believer's ear. But when it comes to helping persons, they disappear. That I'll wait till that smoke pass, then I'll come back out. And I say that because in my journey, I have seen that, persons in churches are in need of help. And all the evangelists them disappear then. And, all those who would have been, passionate about preaching before. What about this? This is also bearing the news there. I'm not saying that you only gonna give, because persons will take disadvantage of that too, where they, okay, you are kind, so they just play on that, because you want to teach the person and nurture them to be independent too. But I mean, when there's a genuine case, a cry for help, a case of despair, right? It is a call, a ministry call, a Macedonian call. It's a Macedonian call. Remember, they send a light, a Macedonian call to send a light, rescue the perishing, care for the dying. So we just, even as we share in those ministry opportunity, I just want to reinforce though that the point about blessed are those who hunger, just that we don't. That we are clear in terms of the intended interpretation, that is hunger and thirst for righteousness, and they shall be filled. So if we have that, unlike the world today, where I did say we are living in a world where persons are, so it's not that we're not being faithful to the mission, that we don't see the benches are all filled, but you have persons that couldn't care less about the faith these days. Even people in the church too. You have a few in the church too who can be like that. Wherein I always look on, even say, though we might have the online thing and so on, that it still not reach some persons, because I always look on the amount of person who view. I see all 15 or so on. And if you look, out of that 15, sometimes 5 are persons who are not from this parish. Another 5 may be the same persons who are present here. Oh, I want to go and hear myself, and they go and listen to it, or they probably want to review or revision and so on. Maybe it's only a 5 new person who would probably listen, and out of that 5, 3 of them might not make it after the first 10 minutes. They go off to go cook or fall asleep or something. Probably only a 2 would probably away from here. So it says about a place, persons who are not eager, hunger, or for righteousness, spiritual matters, or matters of the faith, or and then you can see then why is it we are not probably doing as effective the mission as we are supposed to be. And you can even see how, I mean, very recently we were talking about sheep stealing and all of that, how persons easily drift away. Other church groupings with their indoctrination will easily come and snatch you away, because we don't know where we stand to begin with, because we don't spend time in the word. So being hungry and thirsty after righteousness, there is the assurance. The assurance to it all is that you will be filled and not be hungry forever. But in the kingdom of God, that there is enough. Even at the Lord's table, there is enough. So if we don't take or participate, it's not that there is not enough, but grace abounds. So what a fellowship. What a joy divine. Living in this community. A community which is to live the blessed life, a life which is different and an alternative to that which the world offers. Living life in community. We will pause there for today, and we'll continue. As you see, these are ethical and moral principles. Ethical having to do with wrong or right way of living, And ethical and morality, levity, if as the Rasta would say, is deep matters, cannot be explained in just an hour or so. It's deep matters. As a matter of fact, we can take the rest of the year going through all of these to do a proper treatment. They are deep matters which we will journey through. And so next week we will go to the wars, and then we will go on to love our enemies and love those and pray for those who hate us. Listen, that is also mentioned here. That's not like the video we watched earlier with the show. I mean, that was mentioned in Luke chapter 6, where one of the ethical teaching is that we should love our enemies. How you feel about that? That is coming up, and we hope to get to those controversies. I know we're eager to get there. We'll get there very soon. And so we have much to reflect on at home and in our devotions. And hope we don't just say that, oh, I know that already, but to pause and connect with the Spirit and to hear how can this help me to live better lives in Spring Garden Baptist community.
The life of Jesus Christ and follow him and all will be well.
Study the life of Jesus Christ and follow him. All will be well. That's an interesting take. Having the mind of Christ. Having the mind of Christ. And so as we close, we continue to reflect on fellowship, community and fellowship, living life in the Spirit, and we will close with the hymn, Blessed be the ties that bind. Blessed be the ties that bind our hearts in Christian love. Does that hymn helps us with what it is to live life in community.